matchAll function in regex. Let's learn about matchAll function by solving this code challenge. In this code challenge, you will need to implement the function extractLoopItems that expects one parameter text. This function should extract all loop items from the parameter text. One item must contain item's name and item's value. So for example, sword plus 15, sword is the item's name and 15 is the item's value. Items are separated by comma and space, like sword plus 15, then we have comma, space, shield plus 8. And the function itself should return an array of objects. So for example, we have this input, sword plus 15, shield plus 8, and potion plus 50. In this case, our function returns an array of objects. And you see that each item from the string we extract into a separate object, and this object contains two key value pairs, item with the value sword and value with the value 50. The same for shield and the same for potion. In the next example, we have only one value, but anyway this function returns an array of objects, but in this case we have just one object, item with the value bow and value with the value 25. And the last example is an edge case. So here in the input we have random text, and it means that we don't have any matches. And in this case our function returns an empty array. So at first let's write the regex pattern for this challenge. For that I go to the website regex101.com, and here in the text string area I paste the example inputs. So now try writing this pattern yourself. Your pattern should have one match, for example sword plus 15, and inside of this match you should make two groups. So the one group will contain the item's name, like sword, and the second group will contain the item's value, like 15. So but now let's write this pattern together. At first I need to choose flags. I think that I will use the global flag because I want to have multiple matches. And also I will use the case insensitive flag because I accept both lowercase and uppercase letters. Then we need to think about what we want to have in our match. So at first I want to have the item's name, like sword, shield, potion, or bow. So for that, let's create a character class that accepts all English letters. But I don't want to select an individual letter, I want to select an entire word. So for that, let's write the quantifier from 1 until unlimited. I will use the shorthand plus, and if you hover over it, you will see that this is a quantifier from 1 until unlimited. So now we select all words from the text string area, but before items value, we have a separator space. So let's add space to our pattern. And then we also have the plus sign for the value, so let's add it as well. But if I add just plus sign, you will see that this is a quantifier, so I need to escape the symbol. And now you can see that we have the plus sign in the match information tab. And after that, I also want to select numbers, so I will create a new character class. But I don't want to select just the first digit, I want to select an entire number. So for that, I again add the quantifier from 1 until unlimited. And now, as you see, we have all matches from the text string area. So now we can use capturing groups to make two different groups. As you remember, capturing groups create submatch within of our match. So for example, we have match sword plus 15. From this match, I want to create two groups. The first group will contain the item's name, sword, and the second group will contain the item's value, 15. For that, I surround the pattern for words into the parentheses, and now you can see that this is the capturing group. Also in the match information tab, you can see that after the match sword plus 15, we have the group 1 with the value sword. So then let's do the same for the value. So now, as you see, we have our match, and then we have two groups. In the first group, we have the item's name, like sword, and in the second group, we have the item's value, like 15. Now it means that our pattern works correctly, and now we can copy this pattern and use for solving our challenge. Now on the right side, you can see the VS Code, and on the left side, you can see the browser with the console. And also you see 3 times word undefined, which means that we are connected to our browser. And now we can start solving our challenge. So at first, let's add this pattern. So then we need to select one of the functions for solving our challenge. At this point we know match and test functions, and you might think that match function suits perfectly because it returns an array of all matches. So let's try using the match function. And also, as you can see, the match function returns the regular expression match array. So now let's return the match result to see what it is equal to. And now you can see that we have all our matches in the console. So let's expand the first match. And here you can see that we have sword plus 15, shield plus 8, and potion plus 50. But the one problem inside of this array is that we don't have our capturing groups. So now what we see is a common array. Even though that in the description of match function, it is said that this function returns regular expression match array. But this is the confusing point of this function. When we use the G flag inside of our pattern, this function returns a common array. So let's remove the G flag, and now you can see more info inside of our arrays. So let's expand the first one, and here you can see that we have our match, and then we have two subgroups, so sword and 15. And also we have additional metadata like groups, index, and input. So this is a regular expression match array. This is just a common array with additional properties. But now we have the second problem. Inside of this array, we have only one match and then the first and second groups for this match. So if we don't use the G flag, it means that our pattern finds only first match and then it returns the execution. So if we want to find multiple matches, we need to use the G flag. But in this case, we can't use our capturing groups. So this was actually the problem why matchAll function was introduced into JavaScript. So now let's try using the matchAll function. But then, if I save this result, you will see that now it is equal to regular expression string iterator. And to be honest, I don't know why this is so complicated in JavaScript that now, instead of returning an array of all matches, it returns the regular expression string iterator. But anyway, iterator just means that if you want to extract the value, you need to use some kind of for loop, for example, for of loop. So now I wrote the for loop where we extract one match from the match result, and then I log it to the console. So now if you scroll until the top of our logs, you will see that the first log that we have is a regular expression match array. So as we had with match function without G flag, and it contains the first match, sword plus 15, and also two groups for this match. But then if you close this array, you will see that the second value that we have is the second match, shield plus 8, and it also contains two groups, and so on for potion and then for bow. So if we use the matchAll array, we don't lose our matches and we don't lose our groups. And now let's just create the structure that we expect. So this function needs to return an array. So let's create a new array. Then I will also return this result array. So now, instead of iterators in the console, you can see empty arrays. And then, inside of the for of loop, we can create our objects. So this object contains two key value pairs. So the first key value pair is item with item's name. Now let's scroll until the top of our logs, and here let's expand the first array. Then you will see that with the index 0, you can access our match. Then with the index 1, you can access the item's name. And this is exactly what I do here. So the key of the object is item, and the value I extract by using the index 1. And then I will do the same for value. And now, as you also see in this console, we can access the item's value by index 2. So and then I just need to push this match object into the results array. So now in the console you can see three outputs. So the first output contains an array of 3 objects. So this is exactly what we expect from the first input. Now let's expand this array, and now let's expand the first object. And you can see that it contains the item sword and the value 15. Let's expand the remaining objects. So here item shield and value 8, and the last one item potion and value 50. So the first input is the same as we expected. Now let's check the second input. It is equal to an array of object, and this is exactly what we expect for the second input. And now let's expand it, and you can see that we have item bow and value 25. And then for the last input, you can see that we return an empty array, and this is because we don't have any matches. So all inputs return what we expected, and it means that our function works correctly. Now let's wrap what we have learned. In the cases when you want to use capturing groups and when you want to use the G flag, multiple matches, you need to use the matchAll function. But this function returns an iterator, and to extract the value from iterator, you just need to create the for of loop. And then the value that you extract, so in our case match, will be equal to regular expression match array, which is a common array with additional properties. And then you can work with it as with a normal array. In the next video, we will learn about replace function in Regex.